In this episode, in addition to reviewing last week's climate events, we once again revisit the topic of the increasing number and intensity of earthquakes. Why is this topic among the most important today? Because humanity stands on the brink of large-scale natural disasters, and our main task is to convey this message to rational people in order to save as many lives as possible and avoid the worst. Fires. Southern Europe is experiencing extreme heat. Temperatures in Turkey reached a record 50.5 degrees Celsius, while in Greece they exceeded 42 degrees Celsius. Dry air and strong winds have fueled large-scale wildfires. Several countries have declared the highest level of danger, and thousands of people have been evacuated. On July 24th, a forest fire broke out in Eskişehir province in central Turkey. A group of 24 people, foresters and rescuers, tried to contain the fire by creating fire breaks. However, a sudden change in the wind caught them off guard. 10 people were trapped by the flames and, unfortunately, died. The other 14 managed to escape, many suffering burns and injuries. On July 26th, a fire broke out in Antalya, with flames approaching residential high-rises where local and foreign tourists stay during the summer. One of the suburbs had to be urgently evacuated, and the coastal highway was closed. On July 28th, a large-scale fire occurred near Bursa, Turkey's fourth largest city. About 3,000 hectares of hilly terrain around the city burned. More than 1,700 people were evacuated from suburbs and nearby villages, and the highway leading to Ankara was temporarily closed. Unfortunately, there were casualties. One person died of a heart attack, and several days later, 3 firefighters died while en route to a new fire site. A forest fire in the Black Sea province of Karabukh, located 200 kilometers north of Ankara, led to the evacuation of more than 10 villages and destroyed significant areas of forest. Fighting fires also took place in the provinces of Adana and Mersin during these days. The provinces of Izmir and Bilecik were officially declared disaster zones. Over this summer period, more than 3,000 fires have occurred in the country, resulting in at least 17 deaths. A total of 25,000 people have been involved in firefighting efforts nationwide. On July 26th, the wildfire situation in Greece worsened significantly. The fire spread over an area exceeding 55,000 hectares. About 20% of the island of Kythera was burned in the fire. In certain areas of central Euboea, the fire destroyed farms, killing thousands of animals. The flames spread so quickly that owners could not evacuate their livestock in time. The disaster disrupted electricity and water supplies. 6 firefighters were hospitalized. In the Chania district on the island of Crete, the fire rapidly spread between villages due to extreme heat and winds with gusts exceeding 75 kilometers per hour. Residents of 7 settlements were evacuated. The fire destroyed at least 4 houses and a church. Beekeepers suffered serious losses with about 2,000 beehives destroyed. On July 27th, 27 wildfires simultaneously broke out on the Italian island of Sardinia. The flames engulfed Punta Molentis Beach, one of the island's most picturesque spots, famous for its turquoise waters and white sand. Dozens of cars were burned in parking lots. The fire cut off all land evacuation routes, trapping 102 people, including 12 children. Dozens of vehicles were destroyed. Environmentalists called the event an irreparable loss for the coastline. On the same day, 26 more wildfires were reported on the island. On July 27, 2025, Bulgaria experienced one of its most severe natural disasters. Wildfires engulfed nearly 100 settlements. The flames destroyed homes and thousands of hectares of forest, leading to mass evacuations. Strong winds hampered firefighting efforts, forcing firefighters to retreat. Authorities requested international assistance, including help from the European Union. One volunteer described the situation as a relentless tragedy. More than 50 active fire outbreaks have been recorded in Portugal, with a red fire alert declared in most regions of the country. The hardest hit areas are Arcos de Valdevez, Aveiro district, Ponte da Barca, Viana do Castelo district, and Penamacor, Castelo Branco district. In the Alcanidi area of Santarém district, flames engulfed a livestock farm, killing hundreds of animals. Around 3,000 firefighters, more than 600 pieces of special equipment, and over 12 aircraft were involved in fighting the fires. The wildfires have also spread to Spain, Montenegro, Albania, and several other European countries. Since the beginning of 2025, nearly 293,000 hectares have been destroyed by fire across Europe. almost double the average for the same period over the past 19 years. From January 1st to July 29th, 2025, a total of 292,855 hectares burned in Europe. According to an expert from the European Commission, the number of days with extreme fire danger has already reached levels expected only by 2050. Experts' forecasts were mistaken. The changes on the planet are happening much faster. Seismic activity. Over the past week, our planet has experienced a period of heightened seismic activity. Powerful earthquakes with magnitudes of 6 and above were recorded daily, and sometimes several times a day. The epicenters were located in various parts of the world, near the islands of Wallis and Futuna, Sulawesi, Tonga, Macquarie Island, the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, as well as in the southern Pacific Ocean. Fortunately, due to the remoteness of some epicenters from populated areas or their significant depth, these tremors did not result in any destructive consequences for people. However, the most serious seismic events this week were linked to Kamchatka. There, a series of earthquakes with magnitudes of 6 and above continued for 10 consecutive days. Initially, experts believed these were fading aftershocks following a strong magnitude 7.6 quake that occurred on July 20th. But it turned out they were only foreshocks, the harbingers of one of the most powerful earthquakes in modern history. It occurred on July 30th, 149 kilometers from Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky, at a depth of 17 kilometers. Its magnitude was 8.8. Even residents of Kamchatka, who are accustomed to earthquakes, were stunned by the duration of the tremor, which, according to eyewitnesses, lasted more than 3 minutes. The seismic event was felt across the entire peninsula. Buildings, vehicles, and cranes were swaying, furniture toppled over in homes, and cracks appeared in walls. In the Yelizovo district, the facade of a kindergarten collapsed, and buildings belonging to Kamchatka State University and the local airport sustained damage. According to the Ministry of Health, there are injured. Some people were hurt while running outside, while others, in an attempt to escape, jumped out of windows. There was a sharp increase in emergency calls reporting spikes in blood pressure, arrhythmia, epileptic seizures, and panic attacks. Within 24 hours after the main quake, around 1,000 aftershocks were recorded, with magnitudes reaching up to 6.7. The tremors continued almost without pause, with intervals of just a few minutes. More than 5,000 people were evacuated to safe areas. A tsunami warning was issued immediately after the earthquake. In the Yelizovo district of Kamchatka Krai, wave heights reached 3 to 4 meters and up to 5 meters in the Kuril Islands. In Severokurilsk, water flooded the port, reaching 200 meters inland and damaging fishing industry facilities. A scientific expedition camp on Shumshu Island was also partially flooded. Tsunami warnings were issued in many countries across the Pacific region, including Japan, China, the United States, Indonesia, Chile, Peru, and Ecuador. An emergency evacuation of residents from coastal areas began immediately. In Japan, around 2 million people were forced to leave potentially dangerous areas. Train services were suspended, and Sendai Airport was temporarily closed. In Chile, one of the largest evacuations in the country's history took place. 1.4 million people were moved to higher ground. In Hawaii, massive traffic jams formed, harbors were closed, and flights were canceled. In the US, waves reached the shores of Washington, California, Oregon, and Alaska. At the same time, an eruption of Klyuchevskoy volcano began. Molten lava poured down its western slope, and a bright glow appeared above the crater, accompanied by explosions. Kamchatka volcanologists link Klyuchevskoy's activation to the recent earthquake. Philippines. Still recovering from Typhoon Vamco, the Philippines faced a new challenge, a storm named Kompasu. On the evening of July 24th, the storm intensified to typhoon strength and reached the city of Agno in Pangasinan province, where wind gusts reached 165 kilometers per hour. Severe flooding caused by earlier seasonal rains worsened significantly. Authorities reported the evacuation of 278,000 residents and damage to 3,000 homes. The disaster disrupted transportation, both maritime and air, in the northern regions, leading to school closures, including in the capital. A state of emergency was declared in more than 80 communities. Singapore. On July 26th, a large sinkhole suddenly appeared on one of Singapore's busy streets. A passing car fell into it. The vehicle was almost completely swallowed by the ground, and the resulting hole soon filled with water. The collapse affected 2 traffic lanes and damaged 2 water mains. The car was lifted out of the sinkhole using a crane. The woman driving, who experienced severe stress, was hospitalized. Russia. On July 23rd, a severe storm struck the Volgograd region after a scorching heat wave with temperatures reaching 40 degrees Celsius. The city of Volsky was hit hardest. The storm arrived suddenly. The sky quickly filled with clouds, and the storm unleashed its destructive force. Strong winds tore off roofs, broke trees, damaged bus stops, and power line poles. A power outage at the water pumping station left the city without drinking water. It was revealed that there was neither backup power nor a clear emergency response plan for such situations. Wind gusts at the river port toppled a crane, and boats and motorboats were thrown ashore by the storm. Rural areas were also affected. Some communities experienced severe hail that damaged crops. Germany. Severe storms struck southern Germany on July 27th. In several areas of Bavaria, including Nuremberg, up to 100 millimeters of rain fell within 24 hours. In some places, streets were flooded up to half a meter, and in one underground parking garage, the water level reached 1 meter. A regional express train carrying about 100 people derailed near Reutlingen in the state of Baden-Württemberg. Rescue operations continued throughout the night, involving hundreds of specialists, helicopters, special equipment, and canine units. As a result of the accident, 3 people died, and at least 40 were injured and taken to hospitals. It is believed the train derailed due to a landslide caused by the heavy rainfall. Up to 50 millimeters fell within an hour. This section of the railway is closed, and the timeline for repairs has not yet been announced. Kazakhstan. On July 25th, a powerful hurricane struck Kazakhstan's capital, Astana, accompanied by heavy rain and gale-force winds. The storm hit unexpectedly. Streets were rapidly flooded. Winds broke trees, tore down billboards, building facades, and unstable structures. The gusts were so strong that pedestrians were knocked off their feet. Power outages occurred in several districts. In one area, a concrete slab fell directly onto a parked car. Belarus. Since July 24th, the Vitebsk region of Belarus has been hit by heavy rainstorms. Due to the heavy rainfall, several roads were damaged, and summer cottage areas were flooded. Videos have circulated online showing local residents knee-deep in water trying to save their crops. In Vitebsk, residents noticed fish swimming in the flooded streets, having come up from an overflowing pond. On July 26th, a powerful surge of water caused part of the bank of the western Dvina River to collapse. The landslide occurred in the Verkhovye neighborhood of Vitebsk. A section of land about 1 hectare in size slipped into the river, destroying 7 outbuildings and a service road. Fortunately, there were no casualties. The natural disasters of the past week confirm that the Earth is entering a new phase of intensified seismic activity. Unfortunately, catastrophic earthquakes can no longer be avoided. This is not panic or exaggeration, but a conclusion based on clearly identified geodynamic trends that can no longer be ignored. Strong earthquakes used to be rare, but now their frequency is growing exponentially. Of particular concern is the steady increase in the number of tremors with a magnitude of 6 and above. This is a serious warning sign. However, the destructive power of these earthquakes is not the only problem. We are approaching a critical point. The next stage will see an increase in the frequency of magnitude 7 events. Once such powerful tremors become common, it will be impossible to change the situation. Many ask, what can be done? How can we influence earthquakes? To briefly recap for those who missed previous updates. The rise in seismic activity indicates significant internal pressure on the Earth's crust. If this pressure is reduced, the stress and deformation of the crust will decrease, which means the number of destructive earthquakes will significantly decline. This can be achieved through controlled gas release and partial magma venting from the Earth's interior, but only in the area where the Siberian magmatic plume is currently rising. The Siberian magmatic plume is now in a critical phase. That is why timely degassing can not only prevent its breakthrough, but also help stabilize the seismic situation on the planet as a whole. So far, no alternative solutions other than the one proposed by scientists from the ALLATRA project have been put forward. The climate and geodynamic forecast they developed many years ago is now fully confirmed. This is because their conclusions are based on a comprehensive geodynamic model that takes into account the widest possible range of factors. Some may think we are trying to scare people, but we are the first to wish this scenario would never become a reality. Nevertheless, given the rapid increase in seismic activity, the window of opportunity for planned degassing to still be effective is rapidly closing. At the later stages of the crisis, such a procedure will not only fail to stabilize the situation, but could trigger a large-scale catastrophe. We cannot allow millions of people to die simply because we failed to reach those who believe tragedy won't affect them. The disaster will impact everyone, without exception. Even if some don't care about what is happening in the world, their own lives and their children's futures matter to everyone. If you believe your life has value, do not remain silent. Do not shift responsibility onto politicians from whom you expect solutions to a global problem. While you remain inactive, so do they, because they are just like you. We are confident that many among us still have the ability not just to watch and listen, but to understand, reflect, and share this knowledge with others. Now, more than ever, this is crucial. There is almost no time left to hesitate.